What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with a quick little episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, we have a quick little update that was given to us that Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Detroit Lions, are very close to an extension ranging between $26 to $28 million per year. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are back with some quick little Lions news. I thought that this would be a nice little video just to do kind of quickly to kind of knock out what the contract could look like between the Lions and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, we talked about this in our live stream that I did with Easy last week at the end of the week, and I also kind of cut it up a little bit and then made it into like its own little segment. So there's a straight video of that, of us talking about St. Brown and Jared Goff potentially getting an extension. And with St. Brown, we dove into a lot of like why we should pay Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I won't really do that in today's video. Obviously, the stats speak for themselves, what this guy means to our offense, how he fits in with Jared Goff as well. And as I kind of touched on, just to make a long story short, I believe Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 5 receiver for the Lions offense. Maybe not for every team out there, but for the Lions offense, he fits perfectly because he fits the Goff skill set. He works the field in which we like to attack offensively anyway. He's outstanding with the ball in his hands. Obviously, he has the clutch performance ability where in big moments, you just go to that guy. And while he's not your prototypical #1 receiver, 6'4", 215, runs up 4.4, what he is a guy that can play everywhere on the field. So if there's matches we like on the outside, he'll play wide in a heavy personnel set. We'll get him on your outside corner. If it's a matchup that we like him more so in the slot, we'll let him eat from the slot. Zone coverage, man coverage, the guy's been incredible really since his rookie season towards the end of the year when it was like, oh my goodness, every single week this guy's just going to go over 100 yards. And since that time, he just hasn't looked back. He's just been outstanding. And we know the work ethic and just kind of the background of how he still carries along where he got drafted. Like, when you talk about the intangibles that Brad Holmes and those guys bring up, there isn't a better player to represent that than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, all those little things that we didn't necessarily see, maybe as fans, right, when you're watching, we're like, okay, I mean, he's going to go, you know, he goes day 3, early day 3. But then all of a sudden, once you hear all the background and like how this guy just prepares, okay, I can see how you buy into this, that this guy has the work ethic to just continue to get better and better. He's going to make it in this league. Obviously, he's doing a lot more than that, and we're super excited about the future because it's like, dude, there's no ceiling for this guy. He's incredible. With that being said, though, toughness, playing through injuries, that video is out there. You guys can go check that out. We also showed some clips in that video as well. But today, I wanted to focus on this report that was given to us through The Athletic that said wide receivers new deal to be 26 to 28 million per season range. Amon-Ra Lions near extension. Now, this was, I think, first reported during the combine from the Free Press that said the Lions were in talks about getting an extension done. So we knew that this was going to happen. When this does officially happen, it's going to be no surprise to anybody that the Lions are going to pay St. Brown. They're going to pay him like one of the top receivers in the league. But to me, this feels like the perfect opportunity to take a look around at some of the other receiver deals in the NFL. Now, the Lions, they always work their magic with contracts, so it's not like I'm concerned, like, how are they going to make this work? I think one of the biggest things for the Lions will be balancing out where they have the cap hits really hit for St. Brown, Penei Sewell. Obviously, down the line, you have guys like Aiden Hutchinson, the guys that are really going to take a lot of the cap percentage, as well as Jared Goff getting his extension. Where is his hefty cap number going to fall into place here? Because with St. Brown, it's not really a concern of mine necessarily that it's like, well, what if you can't finish the contract? Do we want to get out early? That's not as much as a concern. Maybe you set it up where you can potentially set up a restructure so you can just drop down the base salary and then continue to move on, extend him again. I want to show a couple of examples here. So the first thing that we'll take a look at is 26 to 28 million per season range. Where does that land? Well, as you can see, it lands towards the top of the league, right, in terms of receivers getting paid currently. Now, this always resets itself. We just saw the salary cap jump up $30 million. So when that's the case, in turn, contracts are just going to start to jump up. New deals are going to jump up. So it's all about the timing. And that's why Goff's contract at the time was like, oh my goodness, this guy got a lot of money. And then all of a sudden you look at 2024 and you're like, actually, that cap number is not crazy anymore. It's just not crazy anymore in the NFL. At the time, it was what? And now it's just not crazy. That's just how it goes in the NFL. And if you're a great player, even if you're not looked at as like he's the best at his position in the league, you're probably going to reset the market. It's just how it goes. But in this case, I guess that wouldn't technically be doing that because Tyreek Hill technically has more average per year. But what's important about Tyreek Hill's deal is that a lot of it to push that number up is kind of set through the final year of his contract, which is essentially a void deal, which is essentially a void year where it's like a $56 million cap hit, but there's not a lot of guarantees there, and because of that, they'll probably just get out of the contract. Maybe they'll set it up again, and they'll just extend him through that. But that number he's likely not going to play on. So even though the $30 million a year seems like a ton, it's really just inflated by the final year of his contract and how they set it up, which leads me to what I want to take a look at. So obviously average per year, that'd be somewhere between Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, around the A.J. Brown type of deal. But the other thing that you got to focus on is when you look at some of the guarantees and where those numbers kind of consistently hit. Seemingly the fully guaranteed amount first, because obviously some of it's going to become guaranteed. A lot of times it's like the year prior, more money becomes guaranteed for the next season through their salary. It's like, okay, if you're on the roster at this time, next year's salary becomes guaranteed. So that's where those numbers can a lot of times differ. But the fully guaranteed at signing, a lot of times, as we see, it's around the $40 million type of range. We'll start here first with A.J. Brown's contract. And as we touched on, there's a few key things to point out. First off, the cap number. You can see that the cap number is much lower towards the beginning of the contract extension. And as you see, it doesn't really take off until that 2025 season where it really begins to jump. Now, he also has a couple void years thrown on his contract. So essentially it ends in 2026, which means that it really only jumps for the one season. And then the final year of his contract, which has a massive out if they want to take that approach. Also, with his base salary being so high, I mean, you know, there's a possibility to extend that again. Like I said, drop potentially that cap number once again. We see teams do that, or you could just move off the player. You still have to deal with some of the void money that you set out to spread out some of the bonuses, but that's an option. But the key here is this to me. It's then the guaranteed salary, because as we see, there are really two different numbers that hit, and they listed down here pretty well. So he received $57.22 million in guarantees, of which $40 million is guaranteed at signing. So $40 million guaranteed to A.J. Brown at signing. Now the key is this. Brown's salary for the first 2 years of the contract are guaranteed, as well as $3.779 million of his 2024 salary. So this 2024 guaranteed salary, which jumps up to $21 million, which essentially means there is no out for Philadelphia. He is locked into 2024. $3.7979 was already guaranteed. However, a lot of that became fully guaranteed through 2023. If on the roster the third day of the 2023 league year, the remainder of his 2024 salary, including workout and in roster bonuses, will be guaranteed. So this has to become fully guaranteed by being essentially on the roster in 2023. Once that becomes fully guaranteed, now for the team, there's no out. He's locked in, but this is still early in the extension, so it's fine. So he's locked into that season, and you also had him the year before, so you probably feel good about that being the case. So now you go from that 40 number all the way to that 57 total guarantee number, and that's where that kind of little difference kind of comes into play here when you look at some numbers. Where's that difference? Well, that's the $17+ million between, if you take away the 3.779 from the 21 million here, bam, get it again in 2025. Now you start to have outs within his contract. As you can see, the cap savings now 11 million if he was cut, with 15.4 in dead. Still not the best, but the cap savings start to kind of come to life, and this is where you get kind of that one high cap number. So there's flexibility there, because as you can see, now the guaranteed salary dropped. Also, at the same time, the base salary for the first time has risen. And you can see through the extension, there's essentially no base salary. They're just like giving them the minimum and saying, okay, this is where the signing bonus that we initially gave you, that's still going to be something you have to worry about through the void years. It's going to spread out each year. That's where we start to feel that. We pay that. As you can see, you know, you have the option. But where we start to really jump this cap number is because now all of a sudden the base salary kicks in. But the flip side of that is we pull away the guarantees, because the guarantees were through the beginning of your contract. It became fully guaranteed, all those numbers. And then towards the back end, we start to see the cap number continue to rise. Part of that, it's also with the rest of the salary cap. Same time, it also gives them an out, and it gives them a lot of flexibility to restructure the deal. Essentially, you guarantee early in a player's contract where you feel good through the extension, but at the same time, then you can in the back end pull away some guarantees, give yourself much more flexibility, while at the same time balancing out the cap number, because with the guarantees being in the front, you can then shut down the base salary. On the flip side, depending on how much you're paying him per year, on the flip side, then you can also do the opposite, where now all of a sudden the base salary becomes the focus, you pull away the bonuses, and now you're still hitting that per year salary. You're just setting it up in a way that's much more flexible in the back end. If you look at a guy like Tyreek Hill, for example, somewhat similar, a little bit different. The key to Tyreek Hill is the bottom of the thing, because it's 56 million is this cap number, and when we see 30 million a year, like, dang, that's a lot. But this is completely inflated by the final year of this contract. Not to say that he couldn't play under this, but it's unlikely that he would play with a $56 million cap hit. Now in 2026, the cap number keeps rising. It could be manageable, but $45 million saved if cut, with only 11 in dead cap. So there's definitely an out there. As you can see, as of now, 20% of the cap, or maybe that's even what's projected, he would take up. That's a high number. But again, they didn't have flexibility because now the base salary is pushing $44 million. You've jumped out of the guaranteed salary as well, because like A.J. Brown, you see it on the bottom here as well. If Hill's on the roster, 5th day of the 2023 league year, his 2024 salary will become fully guaranteed. He received $72.2 million in guarantees, of which $52.35 is guaranteed at signing. So now again, the rest becomes fully guaranteed in that 2024 season. There, the cap number starts to jump because all of a sudden the base salary comes into play, because now it's no longer just, hey, it's your prorated bonus right here, your signing bonus, as well as a minimum base salary. Bam, that's your cap number early in the contract. Now all of a sudden, okay, now your base salary is going to begin to rise, and then we also have these guarantees that are going to become fully guaranteed that season. Now we get kind of that high cap number, and again, there's really no out within that year of the contract. But the flip side is 31 manageable. It's a high number, but it's manageable, and that's where I think you really have to focus on, okay, where are we lining that at? But then you move on to 2025, 2026. Again, there's not even void years on this contract, and now the only thing you're essentially worried about is the prorated signing bonus, which 11.3 times 2 gives you the dead money, essentially. So that's where the dead money comes into play. You go in the next year, cut that in half, 11.3, that's your dead money. That's it. It's the only dead money they didn't have is the signing bonus. You do get that high cap number. You do kind of get the player locked in if you set the contract like this. The Lions may not do exactly this. They have a lot more creativity than what I'm looking at here. But with that being said, this is a lot of times how we see some of these deals structured. So even that total guarantee number, again, they kind of become guaranteed, but a lot of times they're thrown towards the front of the contract. Again, those can be moved around. A lot of teams will also towards the back end of the deal. You start to pull away guarantees. You see base salary rise. That allows flexibility. You got a lot of base salary, I can restructure that, right? We can extend off of that if we wanted to add you again to a new deal. We could just get off the contracts. That becomes a possibility as well, and that's what we start to see. So that's just something that I think is worth pointing out when you see a lot of these deals, to kind of keep that in mind. And the 26 to 28 million, depending on how they set it up, it may not even be that crazy whatsoever. I mean, it is a lot, but it's not super crazy. And you see by the way that team set it up, there's a lot of creative ways to kind of work your way around that and allow yourself flexibility in the future. So I'm going to leave it right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Pride, for watching.